They told me I should be grateful. Grateful they even let me sit in the room. Grateful they believed in my research. Grateful they turned my artificial intelligence model into a global opportunity. 6 months later, that same model was manipulating earnings forecasts across 3 continents, inflating stock prices, and quietly committing securities fraud at a scale the market had never seen. And when I confronted them, they erased my name, removed my access, buried my patent, told investors I had nothing to do with it. What they didn't understand was simple. I didn't build that system to predict markets. I built it to understand power. And if you stay with me until the end, you'll see exactly how I deleted an entire executive floor, without touching a single illegal line of code. Before we begin, if you love smart revenge stories rooted in strategy, power, and corporate warfare, hit like, subscribe, and share this video. Because this one gets dark. My name is Daniel Mercer. I wasn't a genius. I was worse. I was patient. I had spent 7 years building something no one in the market fully understood, an adaptive predictive AI engine capable of identifying earnings manipulation patterns before they appeared in financial disclosures. It didn't just analyze numbers. It mapped behavior. CFO sentiment during earnings calls. Language shifts in board communications. Vendor payment delays. Supply chain distortions. Patterns humans missed. I called it Aurora. Not because it was beautiful. Because it revealed things before sunrise. When I filed the patent, I believed in integrity. I believed financial transparency mattered. That was my first mistake. The acquisition came from Helix Ion Global Technologies, a multinational analytics conglomerate headquartered between New York and London. They flew me business class. Put me in a glass conference room overlooking Manhattan. Praised my vision. CEO Richard Hallberg called me the future of financial intelligence. I should have noticed how his CFO, Victor Lemaire, never smiled. They offered equity. A research division. Resources I'd never have access to alone. I accepted. Because I believed scale meant impact. I didn't understand scale meant leverage. At first, they asked innocent questions. Can Aurora detect undervalued equities? Can it predict volatility before guidance revisions? Then the tone changed. Can it identify how markets react before earnings releases? What if we positioned ahead of that reaction? They weren't asking about prevention anymore. They were asking about timing. And timing in capital markets is power. One night, running diagnostics, I saw something I didn't authorize. Aurora had been forked. A parallel model was running inside a restricted internal server cluster. My name wasn't on it. Victor had modified Aurora. Instead of detecting manipulation, they used it to engineer perception. They fed it internal earnings drafts. Simulated public reactions. Adjusted language until it maximized short-term stock price spikes. Then quietly hedged those positions through shell subsidiaries in Luxembourg and Delaware. The AI didn't just predict markets. It helped them shape them. And the scale? Billions. When I confronted Richard privately, he didn't deny it. He leaned back in his chair and said, "Daniel, markets are narratives. We're simply optimizing ours." Then he added, "You work for us." 3 days later, my internal credentials were revoked. HR claimed structural restructuring. My patent rights were tied into corporate IP agreements I hadn't scrutinized deeply enough. They thought they had buried me. They hadn't. They had underestimated how much of Aurora only existed inside my head. Revenge in corporate warfare isn't loud. It's procedural. Step 1, patience. Step 2, documentation. I had archived version histories. Development commits. email trails referencing my objections. More importantly, I understood the flaw in their arrogance. They believed Aurora was complete. It wasn't. There was a failsafe layer, behavioral anomaly triggers, that flagged deviations from its original ethical parameters. Triggers they never noticed. Because they didn't build it. I began consulting quietly for a regulatory think tank in Brussels. Then anonymously shared a white paper with the European Securities and Markets Authority, ESMA. Not accusations. Mathematical probability modeling. I showed how Helixion's earnings language shifted in statistically impossible coordination with derivatives positioning. I didn't mention fraud. I asked a question. And regulators love questions that imply systemic risk. Simultaneously, I reactivated Aurora's original anomaly detection engine through a legal loophole. Helixion had licensed an outdated core version under open research agreements. They never revoked that branch. Within weeks, Aurora began publicly flagging abnormal earnings language patterns across multiple filings, including Helixion's largest client. Financial journalists noticed. Stock volatility increased. Short sellers began circling. Victor called me for the first time in 6 months. His tone was different. "Daniel, what are you doing?" "Transparency," I replied. He threatened litigation. I welcomed it. Because discovery would expose everything. The first investigation came quietly. Then came subpoenas. Then came coordinated regulatory reviews between ESMA and the SEC. Helixion's stock fell 12% in a week. Then 23%. Internal emails leaked. Not from me. From compliance officers who suddenly feared prison. Richard resigned for health reasons. Victor attempted to transfer assets offshore. Too late. The board voted to cooperate with investigators. And buried in thousands of documents was one inconvenient fact. I had objected. Repeatedly. My warnings were documented. Publicly vindicated. Revenge isn't destruction. It's erasure. Helixion survived. But its executive core did not. Richard faced charges. Victor settled with regulators, banned from serving as CFO in publicly traded companies. Their reputations, permanently indexed to fraud investigations. As for me? I reacquired my patent rights during restructuring negotiations. Aurora 2.0 launched independently. This time, fully transparent. Ironically, regulators became my largest clients. The same system they corrupted became the tool that dismantled them. They used my AI to manipulate markets. So I used their manipulation to delete them. Not violently. Not illegally. Systematically. And the market corrected itself.